My mother-in-law's gift was a glittering monstrosity, and she expected me to foot the bill. I laughed so hard I nearly choked on my coffee. It was a crisp Saturday morning in our small suburban home, the kind of day where sunlight streamed through the windows and made everything feel deceptively peaceful. I was lounging on the couch, scrolling through my phone, when the doorbell rang like a warning shot. My husband, Tom, froze mid-bite of his toast, his eyes darting to me with that familiar look of dread. We both knew who it was. Evelyn, my mother-in-law, never announced her visits. She just descended, like a storm cloud with perfect hair and a designer handbag. I opened the door, and there she stood, all 5 feet of her radiating authority. In her arms was a box so ostentatious it could have starred in a Vegas show gold wrapping, a crimson bow, and a size that suggested it held a small car. Her smile was tight, the kind that didn't reach her eyes. "Laura," she said, her voice dripping with false warmth. "I brought you something special." I should have known better than to trust that smile. Evelyn had a history of gifts that came with strings, long, tangled, suffocating strings. Last Christmas, she'd given us a set of crystal wine glasses we couldn't afford to replace when one inevitably broke. The year before, it was a hideous vase she claimed was vintage, which I later found on clearance at a discount store. But this box, this was next level. "Come in, Evelyn," I said, forcing a smile as I stepped aside. Tom scrambled to his feet, mumbling something about making tea. He was always like this around her, nervous, eager to please, like a puppy who'd been scolded one too many times. I couldn't blame him entirely. Evelyn had a way of making you feel like you were perpetually failing an invisible test. She set the box on the coffee table with a flourish, as if presenting a royal decree. "Open it," she urged, her eyes gleaming with something I couldn't quite place: pride. Maybe, or something sharper. I hesitated, my gut telling me this was a trap. But curiosity got the better of me. I tore into the wrapping, revealing a velvet-lined case containing a necklace. Not just any necklace, a gaudy, over-the-top choker studded with what looked like every gemstone in existence. It was the kind of thing a soap opera villain would wear to a gala. "Wow," I managed, my voice flat. "This is something, isn't it?" Evelyn beamed, oblivious to my sarcasm. "It's a family heirloom. My great-aunt wore it at her wedding in 1947. I thought it would look perfect on you for the anniversary party." The anniversary party. Tom and I were celebrating 10 years next month, and Evelyn had insisted on throwing a lavish event at her country club. Despite our protests, we'd wanted something small, intimate, a backyard barbecue. Maybe. But Evelyn didn't do small. She did grand, and she did it with an agenda. "It's very generous," I said, glancing at Tom, who was hovering in the doorway with 2 mugs of tea. His face was a mask of panic, like he could sense the storm brewing. "Oh, it's more than generous," Evelyn said, her tone shifting to something brisk, businesslike. She reached into her purse and pulled out a folded piece of paper, sliding it across the table. "Here's the appraisal. It's worth $8,000. You can pay me back in installments if that's easier." I blinked, certain I'd misheard. "Pay you back?" "Yes, dear," she said, as if explaining basic math to a child. "It's an heirloom, but it's also an investment. I can't just give it away." The room went silent, save for the faint clink of Tom setting the mugs down too hard. I stared at the paper, then at Evelyn, then back at the paper. The necklace gleamed mockingly from its velvet throne. And then I laughed. Not a polite chuckle, but a full-on, can't breathe, tears in my eyes laugh. It was absurd, it was outrageous. It was so perfectly Evelyn. "Laura," she snapped, her cheeks flushing. "This is serious." "Oh, I know," I gasped, wiping my eyes. "You brought me a gift I didn't ask for, and now you want me to pay for it. That's comedy gold." Tom's eyes widened, and he mouthed, "Laura, please." But I was too far gone. The audacity of it all had cracked something open in me. For years, I'd bitten my tongue, smiled through Evelyn's passive-aggressive jabs, her unsolicited advice, her constant need to control. But this was too much. Evelyn, I said, still grinning, I'm not paying you for this. If it's a family heirloom, why don't you keep it or give it to someone who actually wants it? Her mouth opened, then closed, like a fish out of water. This is about family, she said, her voice rising. About legacy. You should be grateful. Grateful, I shot back, my laughter fading into something sharper. For a debt disguised as a gift, no thanks. The argument escalated from there, voices rising, words cutting deeper than I'd intended. Evelyn accused me of being ungrateful, selfish, unworthy of her son. I called her manipulative, overbearing, incapable of giving without expecting something in return. Tom stood frozen, torn between his mother and his wife, his silence louder than any words. But beneath the shouting, something else was happening. I saw it in Evelyn's eyes, a flicker of hurt, quickly buried under her indignation. And I felt it too, a pang of guilt for laughing, for escalating things. This wasn't just about a necklace. It was about years of unspoken resentment, of clashing expectations, of a family dynamic that had been fraying long before I came into the picture. The fight ended with Evelyn storming out, the necklace left on the table like a discarded battle flag. Tom and I didn't speak for the rest of the day. He retreated to the garage, tinkering with his tools, while I sat on the couch, staring at the box and wondering where we'd gone wrong. The next morning, I found a note slipped under our door. It was from Evelyn, written in her precise, elegant handwriting. Laura, it read, I wanted the necklace to mean something. I wanted you to feel like part of this family. I went about it wrong. Keep it. No strings. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. The note was as close to an apology as Evelyn had ever come, but it didn't erase the sting of her words or the weight of that $8,000 appraisal. I showed it to Tom, who read it in silence, his jaw tight. She means well, he said finally. She just doesn't know how to show it. Does she? I asked, my voice softer than I'd expected. Or does she just want control? Tom didn't answer, and that was answer enough. We decided to keep the necklace, not because we wanted it, but because returning it felt like admitting defeat. The anniversary party went ahead as planned, a glittering affair filled with Evelyn's friends and their fake smiles. I wore the necklace, mostly to avoid another fight, but every time it caught the light, I felt its weight, not just the gems, but the expectations, the unspoken debts, the fractured bonds it represented. Over the next few weeks, I started digging into Evelyn's past, trying to understand her. Tom told me stories I'd never heard about her childhood in a strict, wealthy family, where love was conditional and gifts always came with a price, about how she'd raised him alone after his father left, pouring every ounce of herself into making sure he had opportunities she never did. It didn't excuse her, but it made her human, flawed, like me. One evening, I invited her over for dinner. No grand gestures, no audience, just the three of us. I cooked, something simple, and we sat at the kitchen table, the necklace in its box between us. Evelyn, I said, choosing my words carefully, I don't want your gifts if they come with a cost, but I do want you in our lives. Can we start there? She looked at me, her eyes searching, and for the first time I saw her without the armor. I'd like that, she said quietly. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. We didn't hug or cry or suddenly become best friends, but it was a start. The necklace went into a drawer, a reminder of a fight we'd survived, a lesson in giving without taking. What do you think? Was I wrong to laugh in Evelyn's face? Or was she out of line for expecting payment for a gift? How do you navigate family dynamics when love comes with strings? Share your thoughts. Let's talk about what's fair, what's family, and what's worth fighting for.